All right, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. It's the one and only notorious, glorious V, the Gorilla Condoms, coming to you live with my main man, El Cuco. Well, we are on roguenews.com, where we give you the news, the views, and all the information important to you. RogueNews.com, one of the last voices out there remaining. So check us out, RogueNews.com, and also check out our sponsors, mycbdedibles.com, whether you need some coffee, maybe you need a chocolate peanut butter buckeye or the pecan almond truffle, whatever it is that you need, go check it out. mycbdedibles.com is the place. And CJ, we still running that coupon special?
That coupon expired Sunday, V.
Okay, no problem. Well, folks, anyway, go check it out. Have it delivered right to your door, and you will love the best, most delicious way to get your CBD fix on. mycbdedibles.com. And also, guys, check out the cryptoschool.io, thecryptoschool.io. Whether you want to learn how to trade or you want to learn how cryptocurrencies work, you need the basics. You need the cryptocurrency 101. Go there, find out for yourself. And also, guys, if you want to buy crypto, you're saying to yourself, you know what, I would like to buy myself a little Bitcoin. Well, go there. There's a link. Buy Bitcoin. You can directly do it right through our partners over at KGX. KGX, where you can buy cryptocurrencies. You could also learn about cryptocurrencies. And with KGX, here's the cool part: it's a lifetime membership. And you get paid referrals for referring others to use KGX. How freaking awesome is that? Check it out. KGX.com is the place to get that done. Cryptogenics. Links in the description box, folks. Just go check it out. And with that being said, CJ, what's crack-a-lackin', bro?
Hey, good morning, V. Doing great. I think the entire community, the new media community, is still kind of there's so much going on, V, right now. It's kind of hard to absorb it all, and it was perfectly fitting that last night in my area where I live, that a massive thunderstorm came through. Is very fitting for the day of what took place yesterday.
Yeah, it really is. For those that don't know what we're talking about, and if you've been under a rock, Alex Jones's channel was taken down. It was basically flushed down the memory hole, not just on YouTube, but on YouTube, Facebook, Apple iTunes, Spotify, hell, even Pinterest, man. Like, who the hell goes on Pinterest?
Yeah, it was a complete wipe. Yeah,
they're wiping him from everywhere, right? I mean, love him or hate him is not the point. Love him or hate him, that is not the point. The point is that we rally around him or we fall. When will we be free, folks? When will we be free? Love him or hate him, that is not the point. Rally around him or we fall. You see, they did this entire operation. And see, I'm so convinced that they're sitting around wondering, look what we did. We just took down your biggest star. And like it or not, Alex Jones is the Rush Limbaugh of the entire alt/new media. He really is. He is the big B-52. He's the one that lights up the radar screen. We're the much smaller little fighters, okay? But he is the one that lights up the radar screen. Agree or disagree, like him or not, it is what it is. So they are right now saying to themselves, okay, we're going to take him out. We're going to purge him. We're going to unperson him, like what they do in 1984, George Orwell. We're going to flush his content down the memory hole. Because we're big tech. You see, folks, the internet and the social media platforms that they created thinking that it was going to be for our enslavement wound up becoming the pitchforks and torches that led to our revolution against them. Think about that for a second. The social media platforms that they have created have wound up becoming the pitchforks and torches of our revolution against them. Folks, they understand big time the damage that was done in the 2016 elections, where we entered for the first time ever in modern history, folks, the meme wars. Remember the meme war, CJ, of 2016 and 17? The
Oh,
meme
absolutely.
wars?
Yep.
You see, it was on the battlefield of ideas that the beauty of conservative libertarian thought and thinking was sprung. And it proliferated in such a dramatic pace that it lit fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. All of a sudden, you had mass red pilling. And that fire led to a nationalistic movement all throughout the world. All throughout the world. And now we have laws being passed in the EU saying you can't even make memes. They tried to pass that, and it failed. They're trying to all of a sudden trying to control hate speech on social media, and we need to control fake news. Fake news. You see, the idiot left. You know, I this morning, CJ, I went on the Young Turds, aka the Young Turks. I cannot stand them. I cannot stand that greasy idiot that I call Grimace. What's his name? Chunk Uger.
Yep.
Right. Chunk. I can't stand Chunk. He's greasy. Every time I see greasy Chunk Uger, I want to wipe my computer screen. That's how much grease is coming off of him. And then that screaming wench who really needs who needs to get laid. Let's be honest. What's her name? Anna Kasparian. Golly, have I never met a more miserable wench. Wow. Jeez Louise. That harpy was harping, and Grimace the Grimace was out there talking about and gloating over the fact that Alex Jones has been banned. But somehow these turds are still active. Their channel's fine. Their channel's okay. No issues, no problems. And they're gloating. You see, they think that they're winning right now. They think that this is somehow they're going to ride. The young turds are going to lead the revolution of a blue wave. Folks, let me tell you something. This is, I truly believe, what the left has done with this whole entire banning of Alex Jones. I truly believe they have right now officially not only crossed the Rubicon, but for us in alt media, for us in new media, that's what I like to call ourselves. I don't like to call ourselves the alt media. We're not the alt anything. We're the real media. We're the new media. This is our Pearl Harbor. Now, every single one of us who've been sitting on the sidelines, every single one of us who's been sitting on the sidelines, who are not totally aware of what's going on, or we understood there was a conflict, right? Kind of like in World War II, right? Where we knew there was a global war, but it really didn't involve us, right? It really didn't involve us until all of a sudden Pearl Harbor got smoked. Then all of a sudden, the sleeping giant just woke up. What they have done, folks, is they have literally energized the entire conservative libertarian wing. Now they realize, holy crap, these leftists, let me tell you about these tyrannical far leftists. I'm not going to use the word liberal because these are not liberals. Let me be clear. What these tyrannical far leftists, have done is now they have alerted us, and we are starting to realize, folks, that they are playing for keeps. They're playing for all the marbles. They're playing for keeps. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. CJ, how many platform alternatives are there right now?
Well, there's a few, but they're all tied into the same system. That's the problem. I mean, there's We Are Change, the Dollar Vigilante, X22, SGT. So there's but we're all plugged into this to the same system. That's the issue, V.
Right. So let me ask you this: are there alternatives to YouTube?
They're mostly paid. I mean, that's the biggest issue is that when we navigate over, we need listeners and people to follow. And right now, when you look at the largest distribution networks, it's expensive to house data. If you think about the amount of videos that we've done, think of how much storage space. Think of the systematic thing that YouTube offers with streamlining the process of taking that video and pretty much embedding it anywhere you want to, and it playing flawlessly on any type of device. So it's this system that's been created. Now there's companies that are trying to disrupt that. DTube is a very viable platform that's up and coming. It doesn't currently have any type of live stream format. However, the other alternative would be let's think about it this way. Look at YouTube ad revenue, for example. Over the past 2 years, that's been slashed by 75%. And specifically, that's by design. That is by design to get contributors like us, like X22, like SGT, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to stop putting so much time and energy in navigating away. So again, I think in part, questioning, there's no doubt when you look at the timing of the removal of InfoWars. Let's think back, who would have been here at that time to have counter views or questioning the events of 9/11? Let's think to the events of Syria. What media platforms would have been here to have a questioning the narrative of what was happening in Syria? Shoot, even most recently, look at Vegas, look at the Las Vegas incident. What news outlets would have been here to question? So in part, I think the bigger questioning is the questioning the timing of why. And I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, Alex Jones was a shill and he's, globalist and all that. Well, believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to change your opinion. That's your opinion to believe. But I think there's a systematic play here where we are approaching the midterms. We are approaching potentially escalation of events. If something perhaps were to happen to Donald Trump, if something were to happen, an escalation of events here in the U.S., this was a massive media platform to take out. And how they did it should really scare everyone. This wasn't, hey, I have a backup YouTube channel. Hey, I have a backup Facebook page. They systematically were able to go in and wipe every amount of digital presence on their platforms. InfoWars probably had at least 8 or 9 YouTube channels alone on their, how they stream, and every one of them is completely wiped. This is a huge wake up call. It's hard for me to control my emotions of the frustration, the anger that's there, and I really need that to resonate with people. This is a massive attempt to shut down free speech. And I don't want to hear that it's their corporate platform, they're entitled to do all this. No, time out. There are just as many, if not more.
They're not private corporations, man. These corporations are quote unquote, they're publicly traded. They're publicly traded. It's we really need to take a look at this whole CJ. This is like outright market domination and monopoly, man.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. There are numerous other hate-filled channels that spew, just as much hatred towars different conservative views. Exactly. So again, I don't always agree with the methods that Alex Jones did with InfoWars, but at the same time, again, exactly what you said. He was the mammoth of getting a lot of people red pilled. He was the mammoth of the media, the presence that took place. So again, for this to happen at this time, I think we have to start questioning what's next. What's next? And we see where YouTube now is purposely slowing down. I mean, I've been looking at our video counts, right? I've been looking at our video counts, and I darn well know that our YouTube channels, our videos are not populating that the way they should be. So they are in fact masking over those from people's views. So unless you're directly like going to search and going to look, it's not coming up in your recommended playlist anymore.
No.
They're completely gone.
No, exactly. Folks, we knew this day was coming. We knew the fact that, like, here's the deal. Here's what I'm most upset about, right? Well, I can't say I'm most upset about this, but here's the deal. This is what needs to be done. We at Rogue, for the last several months, have been, like you guys know this, and I make the announcement every morning. We're on DTube, Steam, every single podcasting app known to humanity. We are spreading our nets far and wide. Also, when you look at the real numbers, our subscriptions, we should have anywhere between about 35 to almost 50,000 subs. God honest truth. And CJ, I had a talk with our little technical maven in the background, our partner Matthew. Matt's like, yeah, we should have about like 40, 50,000 subs easily by now. There is suppression. There is a lot of things going on in the background. We can see the algos at work. We can see the suppression that's happening. So, so here's the deal, folks. We will be migrating to somewhere else. I promise you this. It's being worked on. But we'll still be on YouTube because, unfortunately, this is where everybody seems to be. But we won't be doing as much here. We'll do what we can on YouTube, here and there. It's this type of, what kills me, Siege? Here's what kills me. They play ads if you don't have YouTube Red, because here's the funny part, right? They want you to subscribe to YouTube Premium, which is their paid ad-free YouTube service, right?
Right.
And they would play ads on our channel. But we don't see any revenue from those ads being played. It's the craziest thing. They would demonetize, like, how many times we've uploaded a video? Like, could you believe this? Every time Harley comes on, as soon as the broadcast is done, it's automatically demonetized. It's Harley. He says the most unoffensive things. It's crazy.
Yeah, same thing happened with London Paul yesterday, the Sears report. So it's not. There's nothing even in the description that makes you think that this is not appropriate for listeners, but yet it happens anyway. In fact, we had our first video. It wasn't a strike, but it was our first, because when they do that, when they say, "Hey, by the way, we've removed monetization from this video because it does not meet our community standards," we have a way of requesting a manual review, right?
Right.
And typically, for the most part, we have always won. They're always like, yeah, you're right. We're putting ad revenue back on here. But we did have our first last week. It was your South Africa truth that they did a manual review, and they said, we did review this and does not meet our community standards. And they refused to. That was our first ever. So I think it's a sign of things to come, V.
Yeah, God forbid you speak politically uncomfortable things. Nobody can have an adult discussion anymore. Nobody can say, hey, this is what it is. This is the history of it. It's pretty straightforward. Oh, nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. If I told them that I was actually a gay Muslim transgendered, then they'd probably, give me a free pass. A gay transgendered Muslim Hispanic. There you go. That's what I should be. This is the new world we're living in, man.
Well, yeah, and it's the new world. So again, what's going to happen the next event that unfolds? Who's going to be here with the counter narrative? It's going to be Rogue. It's going to be X22, SGT20, SGT, Rory at the Daily Coin, Ken Shorgan Jr. But over time, what's going to happen is they're going to quietly just be kind of rolling that back, dialing it back. So it's time for our community and to get with the other alt media platforms and talk about navigating away from it. I mean, I feel a terrible feeling that we're kind of feeding the belly of the beast,
1,000%.
We're feeding them and allowing them to do this. The question is, how do we work with the others to navigate away from these systems, maybe create a platform similar to CRTV where numerous contributors are on board and they have a pretty significant following that's not based upon YouTube or Google ads, all these things that are in place. But at the same time, we need to be able to have to reach the markets. We need to be able to have people easily access it. I know the last thing that I want is to sit there and you're watching or listening to something be and it won't play through right. It just sits there and it just like it'll just, again, it's like you don't have the bandwidth, but you do. So there's things in works be, and again, I think this is just a clear example of things to come. Now, I know there's going to be some people who are going to say, well, this is just a thing to hype up InfoWars, and they're going to sue and they're going to come back stronger and bigger than ever. And I've seen some of those conversations that are out there. If that takes place, yeah, I probably would question things. Okay, well, how did they come back so easily? But I don't think that's it. I think that when you look at what the things that are occurring in the world right now, the things that the administration is accomplishing, the things that are being exposed right now, where you're hearing that that Trump is going to go ahead and pass the deputy FBI or attorney general and to go ahead and release these memos and things, there's going to be a huge attempt to curtail, to stop the flow of information, to stop the counter narrative of what they're going to want us to believe. And in part, what is happening right now with the massive amount of this election cycle coming up is pretty huge, right? I mean, this could sway the Congress, the Senate, and then what would take place would be their attempt to remove the president. And there's no doubt about that. I mean, I think that that's their plan. They really have nothing else to run on, to stand by, and we need to be here, V, to ensure that we're providing the truth and the counter narrative, because people are not going to get it from the dying legacy media.
Yeah, man, 1000%. I think it's time as we as a community begin to vote with our dollars, and I think it's coming down to the point, because when you look at a lot of the systems that are out there, which we're already on, Steam, and we're already on what's it called,
YouTube,
YouTube and all that. The problem with those platforms, it's not monetizable, number one, apart from Steam it. And number two, it doesn't have the functionality. It doesn't have the slick features. It doesn't have any of that. So in order to create something where you could do live stream, where you could do this, where you could do that, and you could have all the slick interfaces where it could be mobile, it could be desktop, it could be everywhere. It's going to come to a point where people are going to have to pay to support their content creators. It's just going to come down to that. I mean, think about it. We're paying a Netflix subscription, right? You're paying a Hulu. You're paying YouTube. You're paying Amazon Prime. You're paying this, but this is just to be entertained. What are you paying for to be informed? You're paying all this for entertainment. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, YouTube Premium, YouTube TV. What's that? Sling TV. You're paying, Sling $35, $40, YouTube TV $35, $40, your cable subscription probably $200 almost. You're paying all this money to be mindlessly entertained. What are you paying to be informed? I mean, that's the question that we're all going to come down to. So it's a tough question. I think it's right now, unless we as a community begin to start taking money away from these giant conglomerates and start voting with our own dollars. I mean, I don't know what the outcome will be, Siege.
Yeah. And real quick too, this is like almost kind of like the third event that's really taken place in the past, 45 days. And, one of which was the precursor that we kind of knew about, V, was the fact that Ken Shortkin Jr. over at the Daily Economist received a cease and desist from a certain
from the Economist magazine. The Economist magazine basically called up Ken and threatened him, saying, "Hey, man, you got to change your name because it sounds too much like us." The Daily Economist versus the Economist. It doesn't even sound not even remotely similar.
which we know is in part probably a globalist periodical, right? So
Of
now,
course, the Rothschild publication,
Shotgun Economics
which I
is
love, by the way.
yeah, I like it. I like it as well. Yeah. So hopefully YouTube doesn't start censoring the name because that's Shotgun.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
So
God
we
almighty.
had that happen with Ken. Then we had the whole SGT thing, and now it's escalated to Infowars. And so what's next? So I think you nailed it. I think we have to start putting plans in place of what that change, what that navigation is going to be. Away from the controllers, away from these people who don't want the truth of information to come out of what's truly going on in the world. Be
Yeah, exactly correct, my man. Exactly correct. And meanwhile, we got news like this, CJ. Jump into it real quick. U.S. coalition cooperates with Al Qaeda in Yemen. Associated Press confirms. I kind of talked about it yesterday, but I want to flush this out. The AP reports again and again over the past 2 years a military coalition led by Saudi Arabia, backed by the United States, has claimed it won decisive victories that drove Al Qaeda militants from their strongholds across Yemen and shattered their ability to attack the West. Here's what the victors did not disclose. Many of their conquests came without firing a shot. What? Since when? That's a new development. See, if the deep state is not killing you or killing a particular faction, it's cutting deals and paying off. And that's because, folks, as the AP is reporting over here, the coalition cut secret deals with Al Qaeda fighters, paying some to leave key cities and towns and letting others retreat with weapons, equipment, and wads of looted cash. An investigation by the Associated Press has found hundreds more were recruited to join the coalition itself. It's pretty interesting. These compromises and alliances have allowed Al Qaeda militants to survive to fight another day, and the risk strengthening the most dangerous branch of the terror network that carried out the 9/11 attacks. Key participants in the pact said the U.S. was aware. They were aware, CJ, of such arrangements and held off on any drone strikes. Similar, folks, to the role the U.S. plays in Syria. American officials are now apparently quite comfortable. They're quite comfortable admitting that they're willing to utilize designated terrorist groups ultimately as a weapon against pro-Iran interests. Folks, let me tell you something that if whether you know this or you don't know it or not. People say, oh, the Houthis are just tied in with the Iranians. Because the Houthis are Shiites and the Iranians are Shiites. Not entirely. If you had a scale in the Islamic world, and on one end of the spectrum, you have the crazy out there fanatical Wahhabis, the Sunnis, right? And on the other side, you have the Shiites. Even though the Houthis are often categorized as Shiites, they're more inclined with Sunni. They have their own interests. Is Iran possibly helping them? Yeah, possibly. They probably are. But that's not the point of this conversation. The point of this conversation is, what the hell are we doing over there? Why are we helping the Saudis? Why has nothing changed? Why is it we still have a schizophrenic foreign policy? Why is it that all of a sudden that, certain terror groups are better than other terror groups, and we're going to partner with them? Folks, if this is not another, I mean, you've had the evidence when we went into Afghanistan when they were rounding up Taliban and Al Qaeda leaders, arresting them, and then all of a sudden, a few hours later, they're being airlifted out and released back into the general population of the country. We knew something was up there. We knew something was up when the fictitious Al Qaeda, which simply means the database, which is the regurgitated Mujahideen fighters that the CIA, Al Qaeda, supported and created and funded during the Soviet-Afghan War. The regurgitated Mujahideen who became the Al Qaeda. The comfortable moniker, the interchangeable moniker that all of a sudden shows up all around this world on this fictitious, imaginary thing called the global war on terror. More proof. Was it the proof that all of a sudden that we were and our best and talented troops are guarding poppy fields in Afghanistan, saying, why are we guarding this? And they are told by their commanding officers, well, Private Smith, we're guarding this because, if we guard it, we let them cultivate it and then they take it to market, but we intercepted it market. Oh, okay, says Private Smith. But Private Smith knows something's wrong. Private Smith has this inclination that no one's being intercepted anywhere. And all of a sudden we have an opioid crisis. CJ, do you realize that, there are people that have done charts with this, okay? You can overlay a chart of the U.S. opioid crisis. You can lay that chart. And you can lay a chart right underneath that, the timeline of when the U.S. went into Afghanistan and the ramping up of the opioid crisis. How do I know that? Well, before the U.S. got into Afghanistan, the Taliban, which, love them or hate them, I passionately hate the Taliban. The Taliban were chopping up and burning and destroying opioid poppy seed plants all throughout Afghanistan, wiping out poppy plantations left and right. The global opioid supply was damn near wiped out. And it was a massive 70% reduction in global opioid output. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember that? No, some of you must have forgotten. We go in, and all of a sudden, CJ, magically, voila! 93%. 93% jump in opioid production.
Oh, that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence, CJ, that all of a sudden, in a few short years, Afghanistan becomes the opioid capital of the world, the opioid powerhouse that it once was, prior to us getting in there. Opioid capital. Who helped replant every single 1,000 hectares, tens of thousands of hectares of opioid farms and plantations? Who helped replant that? Who supplied the money to get that done? You think the poor schleps over in Afghanistan had the money to do that? Who funded that operation? Was it Monsanto? Was it Merck? Was it any one of these big pharmas working in collusion with the deep state? In God we trust, CJ, right? In God we trust. What are the three things we steal all throughout the world for the deep state? What are the three things we're involved in? Gold. We love stealing gold. You don't believe me? But that gold don't go to us. It doesn't go to Fort Knox. It doesn't go to West Point. No. That gold goes into private hands. It goes into the Federal Reserve, which is as federal as Federal Express. You might have forgotten about the 34 tons of Ukrainian gold stolen in the middle of the night while the Maidan was going down, while the elected government was running away in fear, running and hiding across into the Russian border. You might have forgotten about that, but I didn't forget. I didn't forget the intelligence reports that I was reading, and that I was being told that in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., a crack spec op team with a C-130 Hercules airlifted 34 tons. I'm sorry, it was a C-17 Globemaster, 34 tons of Ukrainian gold. Out. Gone. The three things we're involved in: gold, oil, and drugs. In God we trust. In God we trust. Gold, oil, and drugs. If you got the gold, we're going to steal it. If you got the oil, we're going to take it. If you got the drugs, we're going to take it over and we're going to control the distribution and supply. You want the American foreign policy? There it is. There it is. If this is not proof positive, the global war on terror, proof after proof after proof after proof after proof. The whole world knows. Anybody with a brain outside of the stupid Western moronic nations that we live in knows the U.S. created ISIS. You might as well rebrand it USIS. We know the CIA is heavily involved. It's public knowledge. I'm not telling you a conspiracy theory. It's public knowledge. Global war on terror is a farce, just like the war on poverty, just like the war on drugs, just like every single one of those things. It is a total farce. And meanwhile, CJ, while we engage in this global farce, meanwhile, in the land of adults, what's going on in the land of adults, CJ?
Well, V, it looks like Russia is getting nearing completing their Nord Stream 2 project, bypassing the last holdout, which again is going to directly tie energy cooperation with Germany, and something that the U.S. has been lobbying heavy against. V.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. Meanwhile, in the land of adults. Meanwhile, in the land of adults. Oh, we're gonna stop them. We're gonna stop them. We're gonna have sanctions. Blah 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 blah. Russia's out there cutting energy deals. China's out there doing energy deals and infrastructure deals and economic deals. Everybody else is making money. Everybody else is on the adult thing to do, which is going out there and making money. We have a fifth column that we're dealing with in this country, a disgusting group of American haters that have effed up our domestic policy, that have screwed up our foreign policy, that are right now fighting our president, that are hamstringing what needs to be done for us as a nation to move forward internationally. We're too busy with this. Folks, here's the deal. Everything that is happening right now is because the establishment has lost the narrative. You know, these young millennials who are out there with their Pantifa outfits, you know, wearing the black mask and the lace panties underneath, and you know those types of thongs. That's what these Pantifa members like to wear. These brain dead, brain damaged idiots, basement dwelling denizens, a generation of losers. Not all millennials, but most millennials. Thank God most millennials don't reproduce. Thank you, Jesus. Useless generation. Pathetic. They're out there with this Pantifa BS. They're out there, this fifth column, wanting more, wanting aggression, wanting us, the freedom loving American public. When do we say enough's enough and shut this whole thing down? It's getting to that point. I'm not talking about civil war. Please, we can beat the far left with basically both hands tied behind our backs. This is all about controlling the narrative. Going into 2018, the midterms. Going into the 2018 midterms, folks, a message has to be sent. It has to be loud. It has to be clear. It has to be unequivocal. The greatest defeat of the fifth column must occur in this midterm. We are literally months away. Do you understand what is happening? Do you understand the gravity? What happens this November? Think about it. We're almost in the middle of August here, folks. September, October, November. 3 months, 3.5 months away. In a little as 100 days or so. If we don't mobilize and crush the establishment at the state and local levels, a message has to be sent. Enough's enough. Vote all these incumbents out. They gotta go. And if we don't do that, CJ, I shudder. CJ, this is why CJ and I have been screaming about the midterm election since the moment Trump got elected. Because if you think it's bad now, you think this is bad now. Folks, do you understand the midterm elections overturning every single one of these bastard incumbents, overturning, getting rid of all these deep staters, these globalists? Do you realize that is your and my way of preventing a civil war in this country? Do you understand that? It's getting to that critical point. These deep staters need to go. These bought and paid for corrupt politicians who are sitting there stinking up our capital with their putrid avarice. They need to go. They need to go right now. That's why the 2018 midterms are so critical. You think right now it's bad? You think we have a fight on our hands now? You ain't seen nothing yet. If we lose the midterms, you ain't seen nothing. We lose the 2018 midterms, and if DC turns blue and it becomes more tyrannical, the only way we get it back is civil war. You better pray to God, as I am, that doesn't happen. You better pray to God right now, as I am, that does not happen. That we win, and we win big. We win and win big. CJ.
Well, yeah, I think an early an early sign of that will be, primarily why Trump and now even recently Pence have been spending a lot of time, in Ohio with their special election that's happening. I believe today. That's why they wasn't necessarily a campaign stump that Trump had there. It's just that all eyes are on this, what they're deeming kind of a face, a national test in regarding to this special election that's happening there today. And so we'll have to keep our eyes on this today to see where specifically this lands with the special election to determine who will take the House seat held by retired Representative Pat. Is it Tiberi? So this is taking place today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Ohio, V. But you're exactly right. For those that say, "Oh yeah, it can't happen." I mean, if you take a look at history, George Bush Jr., he had control of the House and the Senate, whenever he was elected, and he lost at least one of I think he lost the Congress that year. Obama in his right mind, I think, lost both, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's just like one of those things that happens. It's like, the opposing forces rise when they feel that they've lost that top seat in government. They they raise a lot of energy, and so we'll have to just monitor this tonight and see what happens with this special election in Ohio. But needless to say, the GOP been putting a lot of time and energy in this because they feel this is pretty pivotal heading into the midterms.
Absolutely. Siege, anything else you want to cover, man?
No, that's it. That's it for today. We do have a special interview lined up.
At 3 o'clock, we have Aaron Clarion. That's going to be dope. The guy's a character, man. And, we met through Twitter. And this guy, I love this guy. This guy's blunt. His website is assholeconsulting.com. I love it.
Yeah, I've watched some videos. It will be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's going to be at 3. So stay tuned for that. And that's it. So, folks, have a great day. Again, folks, this is we're in it, and let's fight at the voting at the ballot box. Let's fight there. All right. With that being said, we're over and out. CJ, take it away. Oh, again, folks, here's the deal.